7 p.m. I'll read the land acknowledgement. As visitors on this land, the town of Bradford, Gwillimbury acknowledges that the land on which we gather today is the traditional territory of the Shnobik Nation, which includes Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi Nation, collectively known as Three Fires Confederacy. We recognize that the Huron-Wendat, Chippewa, and Haudenosaunee nations have walked on this territory over time. In times of great change, we recognize more than ever the importance of honoring Indigenous history and culture and are committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation, respect, and good health with all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people. So I'll just announce that Councillor Dehaney and Councillor Dykey are sick. From what I understand, they're sick. They're unable to attend tonight. And we have Councillor Harper online with us tonight. So. Okay, so Council, we're on to number 2, adoption of the agenda. Recommendation that the special Council agenda dated December 9, 2025 be adopted as amended. We've added a section at the back. It's 5.1. It's in regards to the 2026 budget. So may I have a mover seconder? Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded. Seconded by, for the adoption of the agenda as amended. Okay, Councillor Harper. Okay, all in favor? 1, 2, 3, that's it. 4, then that's me. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the agenda is amended. Approved as amended. Okay, declaration of community interest, general nature. You can declare now or when the issue comes forward. Seeing none, okay. We are moving into our public information meeting, proposed street naming, so the introduction of the purpose of the meeting. This meeting is being held in accordance with the Municipal Act 2001, the Town of Bradford, Gwillimbury's street naming policy PLN-001 as amended, and Council's direction provided through resolution number 2025-236 from the August 5th, 2025 regular Council and Committee Whole meeting. The purpose of this meeting is to inform the public about the proposed street naming proposals, gather public input, and address any questions related to the renaming. Members of the public will be given the opportunity to speak following the presentations. Comments presented at this public meeting are being recorded by staff. Personal information is being recorded according to the Municipal Act and the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. Questions regarding the collection and use of personal information should be directed to the clerk. So we're on to 4.2. It's the public meeting for the proposed street naming of Side Road 10 from Line 6 to County Road 89 and for the roads surrounding the Southwest Arterial. Planning report. The planning staff will now present the contents of the staff report. The staff report will detail information pertaining to both the street naming proposals. The presentation by staff will contain an update on comments received to date and does not include a recommendation on either of the street naming proposals. Town staff will provide a report at a later date, which will also reflect and consider the public comments made during this public meeting and written submissions received before the report is written. I will now turn it over to Thomas Dihart, our project planner for this. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council, and members of the public. Good evening. My name is Thomas Dysart, and I am here to discuss the proposed renaming of Side Road 10 and the road surrounding the Southwest Arterial Road. Next slide. So for this evening, we will go over the purpose of the public consultation, provide an overview of the notices, introduce Side Road 10 / the Middletown Side Road renaming and history, introduce the Southwest Arterial Road renaming and history, and summarize comments received to date. If we could go to the next slide. I'll first introduce each of the roads themselves. So the first up for discussion is Side Road 10 from Line 6 to County Road 89 in the town of Innisfil. The proposed name for this street is Middletown Side Road. There are approximately 143 addresses, and I should note that between Line 6 and Line 8 is under the jurisdiction of the town. The road north of Line 8 to County Road 89 is under the jurisdiction of the County of Simcoe. Next slide. The next road in question is the Southwest Arterial Swoop. That's what I've been calling it. It runs from the roundabout at Line 6 to Highway 400. There are currently 27 properties on this stretch of road, and a proposed name has not yet been identified, and it's just in the red markings on the map. Next slide. The next road in question is line 5, east of the Swar Swoop to Canal Road. It's identified in the blue on the map, and there is approximately 22 properties on this stretch of road, and there's no name identified for line 5. Next slide. Lastly is Side Road 10 from the Swar Swoop to line 4. There are currently no names proposed, and there are approximately 14 addresses on this stretch of road for a total within this area of about 70 addresses. If we could go to the next slide. Following resolutions passed by the Heritage Committee, Council directed staff to host public consultation, which is the purpose of tonight's meeting. We are looking for feedback on the proposal from members of the public as well as members of Council, and so the purpose of tonight is really to introduce the renaming, solicit feedback, and we'll take all that into account while we go to prepare a recommendation report for Council's consideration. Next slide. Notice was issued to those affected property owners on November 20th, with notices also appearing in Bradford Today. The town also created a website where we can solicit feedback as well as street names, and the town's communications department ran several social media posts to inform residents of the proposed renamings. Next slide. So the first name, or for the first road, we are looking at Side Road 10, north of line 6 to County Road 89. The proposal for this street name is Middletown Side Road, as I said earlier, and the Heritage Committee initiated the request. Following Council's acceptance of the Heritage Committee's resolution, Council passed a street naming guideline that included public consultation. Next slide. So over the years, there has been confusion over Middleton and Middletown. This has been due to the absence of a W in some instances. And the reason for that is we believe is that at the toll gate between Holland Landing and Bradford, Middletown was spelled wrong and was missing the W. However, the proposal for this evening is, Middletown with the W. Next slide. So Middletown was a community located at Holland Street West and Side Road 10 and was generally located in the middle between Bradford and Bond Head. The small hamlet was host to a blacksmith, hotel, church, and school. And you can see even on these signs you have a blacksmith with Middleton, but a Crown Inn, the hotel, was Middletown. So even back then they were confused. Next slide. So the next area where we're proposing to rename is in and around the area of the southwest area of Bradford. Prior to the construction of the southwest arterial road, the Side Road 10 and line 5 intersection was your typical cross intersection, whereas if we go to the next slide, following the construction of the road, line 10 blended into line 5. Line 5 blended into Side Road 10, sorry. Which this has led to confusion in the community, so the Heritage Committee passed a resolution whereby we would rename Swar Swoop, as I said, that's just my name, Side Road 10, south of the Swar Swoop, and line 5, east of the Swar Swoop. Next slide. Since we've opened up public consultation, we have been getting name suggestions to date. All these are currently under review by town staff and will be brought forward to the Heritage Committee's attention for their review. In addition to the names listed on the PowerPoint, we've also been recommended Holland Marsh Way, Baytonia, Northover, and Harvesters. So all these names are currently on the table for potential consideration. If we go to the next slide. Generally, comments from the public have been mixed. There have been concerns raised about costs and times associated with the renaming, disagreeing with the renaming in principle. There has been support for the renaming as Middletown, as they've always known it as Middletown Side Road. There have been concern about potential confusion surrounding emergency services and the impacts to businesses. One member of the public raised comments about potentially doing a symbolic street renaming with heritage signing under the existing Side Road 10 signage. And regarding the Swar specifically, the commenter commented that if the Swar Swoop could be renamed, the remaining roads could remain unchanged. And of the 20 or so emails that have been shared with members of council, Deputy Mayor Sanju pointed out that 14 comments were against the name change and 6 were in favor of the name change. If we could go to the next slide. For both of the proposed renamings, staff will report back to council in the new year on a proposed implementation plan for the renamings that would include information on costs, compensation to residents, and overall timelines for the street renaming to take effect. Specifically regarding the SWAR, the chosen name will need to be reviewed and selected in accordance with the town's street renaming policy and be endorsed by council. Next slide. So that concludes my presentation, and hopefully happy to open it up to the public and council for their comments and feedback. If anyone does wish to receive future updates on the proposed renaming, they can send me an email at tdysart@townofbwg.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you for that presentation. Okay, so it is the public's participation now. So members of the public are now invited to address council and provide any comments and ask questions pertaining to either street renaming proposals. Please provide your name and speak directly into the microphone. If residents have prepared a written submission that they are reading from, please submit it to the clerk upon completion of your presentation. Okay, so I do have some people that signed up. I'll go from order of who signed up first. So I have Marie Cowley. I'd like to come up and speak.
All right, good evening, council members, once again, and members of, I guess, staff and residents. I guess I'm here again to, discuss this issue. I was one of the residents that received in the mail that we are potentially on the block for a change of name. I went door to door to a bunch of the homes on the street. I'm part of the tail end of the side road 10. So it's that, I'm not sure, it'd be nice to have one of the maps on the screen if we can, but I'm sort of that tail end that got severed, let's say. So we do have I counted about 17 houses, so could be a little more, a little less. On the street. Our concern, or many of the concerns, are the inconvenience, how they're being impacted. Obviously, there could be costs involved. Was one of our thing was, how much is this costing the town? We just kind of got blown away with budget a couple of weeks ago, so it'd be nice to know that we're not putting more strain on the taxpayers and residents, as well as ourselves, if we do get impacted by this. I guess my hope is that you're listening to the comments, the emails, the calls from residences. I mean, obviously, we're just a little section there, but this is a pretty big design and difference that's going to hit quite a few people. I hope that you listen to the residents. Sometimes the easiest is always the best solution. Keep it easy, keep it simple, and hopefully that won't cause any confusion and hopefully less impact on the residents. And I guess my last thing would be is obviously the fact that, yeah, inconvenience and having to change everything over is a real pain, as well as I'm not sure we may have to, could this involve talking to lawyers about legal papers that would have to be changed with our address changes? I'm not sure. And if there's any compensation to the residents that do get affected by this, is there some kind of compensation from the town? So if we can get some answers and perhaps figure this all out. Like I said, the easiest is sometimes the simplest solution to this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So when you said you were the tail end, are you talking towards the 400?
So here.
The bottom of, if you just show us exactly where?
So
Okay.
I'm on the yellow.
Oh, the yellow, okay, thank you.
We're down here, so we're between the sort of the 5th and the
Yes.
4th. So
Okay.
there's only, like I said, about maybe 17 homes. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but there's a lot of homes that have businesses as well. So it's not only your home address, but it's also a business address. So there's a lot more to it.
Okay. Thank you for explaining where you're located on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we next up we have Mr. Earl Glasky.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for your time this evening. I did quite a bit of looking at this here. I am a resident down in the area, down on Nottingham Forest Road. However, the roads feed into the area that I live in, but I'm not necessarily impacted by the road renaming and or potential costs that might go along with it. In view of that, I did in fact come up with 3 options that I'm going to tonight's for public input. Option 1, if I may jump right into it, from Highway 400 up to the roundabout, that's at line 6, be suggesting being named as Middletown Road, and leaving Side Road 10 from the roundabout north, which extends into Barrie, by the way, up to Mapleview Drive in Barrie. Leaving Line 5 East, as it's currently named as Line 5 East. Line 5 would head out from the 400 out toward Highway 27 and remain the same. So that would lessen some of the burden on some of the folks that are in those particular areas. Option 2 would take from Highway 27, Middletown, renamed to Middletown Side Road, and head right up to County Road 88. And then from County Road 88 north to Mapleview and Barrie, which would alleviate Simcoe County and also the folks that are in Innisfil as well, as the first option would as well. By doing that, it would leave the existing road, Line 5, that's currently designated as Line 5, remain Line 5. Again, the folks where Maria is down in her area, that would require resident input on what they would be actually looking for as one of the heritage designations. And by the way, I did in fact look into the heritage designations, which were identified by the planner this evening. A couple of them, one of them anyway. Middletown Side Road, I looked up a little bit of heritage on that. Scotch Settlement Road I did as well, and also Highland, which is tied to the Scottish folks many, many years back. And then option 3, probably the cleanest one, but probably the most impactful one as far as the residents go on changing stuff, would leave Line 5 coming off the 400, heading west towards New Tecumseh out towards Highway 27. It would start as Middletown Side Road and head right up to County Road 89 as one particular route right through. And then Line 5 East would remain as it's currently designated as Line 5 East. And then down in Maria's area of town, that would leave that Side Road 10. Those are the 3 options that I propose for input. I can leave these with the designer if you wish, with the planner. Thank you for your time tonight, Council.
Yes, thank you. If you wouldn't mind leaving them with our planning group, those 3 options, we'd appreciate that very much. Okay, I now have Christine Munshaw.
That talk. Okay, sorry. Good evening, Mayor Leduc, councillors. My name is Christine Munshaw. I live on 1863 Side Road 10, which is at the 1863 and the 4th line. So I'm the last house on 1863, and then there's the 4th line. First of all, I didn't get any notice in the mail, and I do read the Bradford paper online, but I didn't see it. I guess it was carrot time, right? Harvest time in November, so I guess I missed everything. Anyhow, when this SWAR was created and they did the signage for the 5th, I noticed that if I was doing it, I would have put bigger signs for the 5th that goes, because when I drive there today, coming around that, if I'm going, I don't even see that little sign. It's not very big, like, to me. The roundabout sign, it should be bigger like that, roundabout sign. And I feel that all we really need maybe is to do some better signage. Because you've got the interchange on 400 is called line 5 interchange, so you're going to have to change all the green signs on the 400, I think. I don't know what's all involved, but I imagine it's not easy just to up and change roads. My proposal is just to maybe, I understand the Middletown, great, coming down from 89, but where the 5th comes out on the bend, why not change it right there where, so that when you come out the 5th, you got either Middletown going north or the 5th going to the highway. I don't know. I think we should try to keep it simple, and that's about it. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you for that. I did have another person sign up. Joel, if you want to speak or not. No problem. Come on up. Come on up and ask the question.
Good evening, everyone. Kind of new to Bradford. This is my first time coming to a meeting of this kind. As newer residents come into the neighborhood, my concern is just like, how much is this costing? Because I know City of Toronto did it with Dundas, and it was very expensive. We definitely don't have as many businesses on those streets as Dundas has. But I don't know, like my daughter goes to Bray Buff. I know the school is in dire need of, updating. And I know it's different departments. I am also a member of CPEC at the Simcoe School Board, a Catholic school board. So I'm just wondering, is there no better allocation of funding versus having to relocate names to all these streets that aren't high density and causing a burden on all these people who live here? I could just imagine the cost to change deeds, all this signage, vendors that you'll have to use or contractors who inflate prices because they work for the city. So I'm just wondering why, to be honest, like, why are we renaming the streets? I'm just wondering, is there an answer? Like, there was a proposal, but there was no cost put in the proposal, no valid reason as to why we're naming it. I can understand if higher development was coming in and we were adding more homes, then yeah, but I mean, I don't get it. So that's just me. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully we get you an answer to that question. Okay, I have no other person signed up right now, but if there is other members of the public that would like to speak, we would certainly entertain that if somebody from the public would like to speak. So we're open to anybody coming up. Joel by Tony. Hit the button on the front? No, on the front, on the top.
Hi. Sorry, everybody. Thank you, Council, for tonight, for the open forum. Thank you, staff, for everything you've done to date. Thank you, residents, for being here. It's Kimberly Nishaw. I live at 3940 10th Side Road, Bradford. I've lived there all my life since I moved out of town. So its cost isn't necessary. I understand heritage. Being a Bradfordite all my life, born in 1964, out here on 88 I've lived. But really and truly, heritage-wise, how do I say this? Buildings are great, but signage goes with the times. We're modering up Bradford. So I think as there's development, then maybe let's honor our heritage in that fashion. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. I will invite more public if they'd like to come up and speak. I will invite the public for a second time. If there's any other public wants to speak. And for a third and final time, we'll make another public, if somebody from the public would like to come speak. Okay, we have no more public who wants to speak, so I'll have the planning staff come up and maybe you can answer some of the questions that were brought forward by the public. And then after, I'll invite council to speak. Okay.
Okay, so one of the first questions I wrote down was why. So this was a project initiated by the Heritage Committee. So when Heritage Committee passed that resolution went to Council. Council endorsed the resolution, and then subsequently Council passed a street renaming guideline that did include public consultation as a component of that. So we're just following through on that direction from Council, from the Heritage Committee through to Council to today. So that is the reason why we are here. With respect to cost and compensation, that is something staff are currently investigating. In the examples we've seen in other jurisdictions, there has been a compensation to residents. We have not settled on a number. We're trying to find the best one that we think will be appropriate, and that will be up to Council to decide upon. And it obviously will have to have budget implications if Council does decide to compensate residents. I'm thinking of the other questions. Did I miss any? Happy to answer any other questions if I missed any.
I think you got them. The big ones was the why we're doing it, the compensation, and the third one was?
Cost to the town. So we did get proposals for Middletown, Side Road 10 from our transportation department, and signage for our stretch in BWG would be between $4,000 and $5,000. That does not include anything outside of Bradford, so that would just be the portion that is within Bradford's boundaries. So those costs would have to be kind of projected onto the other streets.
Okay, so good. We got some costing there. Everybody got it? There was some costing allocated to this from our transportation department. So, okay, thank you for that. I'll go to Council now. I did have Deputy Mayor, then Councillor Sandu, and Councillor Ferragini, and then Councillor Giordano.
Guy with the hat. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Thomas, for your presentation. I want to thank the Heritage Committee for their recommendation and Council's direction to staff of holding this public meeting, because that's so important. And I'm glad we did that, because reading, we received 9 pages of comments, total of 20, and out of that, as you mentioned earlier, 14 were against it, and 6 were saying, let's do it, but out of those 6, some were saying, let's do this, let's do the section. And when we talk about cost, it's not, in my mind, it's not just the 5,000. It's the staff time, it's the cost of these residents doing what they need to do at their end. It's a cost to them, to our taxpayers, and I don't think I can go for that. It's a good exercise. It is. Side Road 10 is also historic. It's history. I've been in this town since 1989, and that's all I see in Side Road 10. I can relate to it, and then when we're reading the comments, many people years before can relate to that. There was one comment that I really liked about having a symbolic gesture somewhere, that whether it's a plaque explaining the history or a board. I seen it in the cities and states, and I seen it in Halifax, I think, when we were there, where it explains the history in detail and also have pictures. Something like that, yes, I can go for, but to put someone, many of our residents, not only in Bradford, West Gwillimbury, we're also asking Innisfil, and now when you look at it, if you want to do it properly, we're touching Barrie and who knows what. That's going to require a lot more staff time. That might mean delays, because who knows how Council of Innisfil is going to react to it, and Barrie and the others. So therefore, when the time comes, when the report comes back, with what we know now, I don't think I can support it. I think it's something that we need to recognize and remember our history, but it can't be at the cost of the people's, the cost of the taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Ferragini.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you to all the residents who came out and voiced your concerns. I I've lived here my whole life, and I've always known it as Middletown Side Road. I've just always known it as that, and I've always used that in my saying. Having said that, seeing this when it first came up from the Heritage Committee, I thought, oh, that's kind of a cool idea, and then it was put forward. But then seeing the response that we're getting from the residents has really shown me that, and I realize it's only 20, but at the same, out of the 170 total or so, but still, it's more than double were against it than they were for it. To the point that the Deputy Mayor made in regards to the heritage signing, I thought that was an excellent idea, something that's underneath the side road 10. Or even, Ms. Nishaw stole my idea, was in regards to buildings that are coming up. We've got parkland there that could potentially have a park called Middletown Park. We've got a high school coming in the area that could be Middletown High School. There's a bunch of different streets that could be named. So as opposed to affecting the current residents that are there, then the history can still be recognized by putting it into something newer that is coming down the pipeline. Where it gets me is, and honestly, I didn't even think about it until I started reading all the comments, was in regards to changing everything. Changing your address is a big deal. It's like moving. You're now changing it on all your legal documents, and it's quite a bit of work. The costs, I'm not entirely sure what they would be, but I feel that that's a lot of work. So although I understand why this was brought up and the history behind it, and I appreciate that because I thought that'd be a good idea. At the same time, I don't think that it's fair to be such a burden on the residents. In regards to the other municipalities, I know Barrie changed theirs. I don't remember how long ago it was, though, because Side Road 10 turns into Huronia Road, right? So I'm not sure when they changed theirs. In regards to the other type of roads, though, I'm more of the simple, I want to keep it simple as possible, and I don't know how staff's going to put it together because certain areas are not named, but your swoop there, right where it actually turns, where you turn, that's where the name should change. You can have that signage right at the swoop. You can have it sitting there when somebody's staring at it. You've got the two signs going one way, and they show you what the names are. You can have it there. So you have line 5, Side Road 10, Side Road 10. It's very distinct. You can see it, and then it causes less confusion. That's my opinion on it.
Okay, thank you. I've got Councilor Giordano next.
Yeah, a lot of good points from the residents and colleagues on council. I know just making a tiny little change to my business on my paperwork, the CRA, Canada Post, all the legal documents, everything else, it cost me a ton of time and money just for that. So for that reason alone, it's, again, you said $5,000. I think Deputy mentioned it's a lot more with time, staff time and everything else. But the real cost is actually to the residents, and there is no reimbursement that's going to happen to those residents in those areas. It's going to be all on them, all the stress and the added, pain. The other thing that we need to be mindful of is the 911, right? So the registration and addressing of that. I know that there's a huge issue with, in every municipality, in every town, there's a Queen Street, there's a King Street, there's all these duplication, William Street, like it just goes on and on and on. And then you have 10 Side Road, 10th, you have a Side Road, you have 10th line, and then you have all those other ones. So there is some value to having actual unique names, but I'm a value versus price guy. And I see that this is a, kind of like a make work project. It's not, so maybe it's a nice to have, or maybe if the time is right, but I don't see the reason or any value in doing this at this time. Again, imagine if you have a sign on your house and you have the scripted fonts and it says, 10 Side Road. Now you gotta, or you have a stone in front of your house with the address on there. Now you gotta change that. Like the cost of the residents is it doesn't make sense. It's not like this is a dire need. It's not like it's causing confusion or problems. It's just one of those things where, I don't mean to be rude, but it came out of a committee. It's like, hey, we're doing something great. Yeah, it's great, but it's not a priority.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments? I've got Councilor Scott.
I have often felt that we need to start some council meetings with a previously on Bradford Council segment to remind us of what we've all previously heard and agreed to. So the question was asked a few times why we want to do this, and it's different for Side Road 10, Middletown Side Road, as compared to the new roads in the SWAR. But let's start with Side Road 10, Middletown Road. Even in just saying that, I think I've identified one of the problems. The actual name for the street is 10 Side Road, not 10th Side Road, not Side Road 10, not Middletown Road, not Middletown Side Road. Growing up in town, we always called it Middletown Road. If you look on Google Maps, it is called 10 Side Road and Middletown Road interchangeably. That's true on your GPS. If you drive up it, your GPS switches in your car as you drive up the road. There have been instances of people calling 911 saying I'm at XYZ Middletown Road and the dispatcher having no idea where that is. So there is actually an issue, and it was also framed when council endorsed changing the name as a safety issue to clarifying the name of 10 Side Road / Middletown Road. I actually quite like the idea of a heritage name. Keep it simple, stupid. Let's maintain it technically as 10 Side Road, but add Middletown Road or Middletown Side Road in some sort of heritage street naming. It's a nominal cost, but it wouldn't be a cost to the residents to do that. I think it would help clarify everything. Those of us who grew up in Bradford or have been longer in Bradford than my family, we've used it interchangeably. That doesn't make sense for, I mean, we heard from one councillor tonight who's relatively newer to town. You don't always know where these streets are. I remember Councillor Verkuyken and I said, oh, it's across from the old Chat and Shoe once. No one knew what that meant. So as there is new development, we need to clarify some of these pieces, and there are more businesses going on 10 Side Road. So that's how I'd solve that piece, and I think that's aligned with what some of the residents said previously. The Swar is a trickier beast, and I wish it had been considered under a previous council when the road configuration was changed. Line 5 west of Highway 400 doesn't exactly connect to the old Line 5 or Line 5 East down into the marsh. At the Heritage Committee, we talked about, let's just call it Line 5 East. That's clean, it's simple. The orphan part of 10 Side Road that no longer connects to the rest of 10 Side Road / Middletown Road, I'm fine to call that 10 Side Road. I'm fine to call that Old 10 Side Road. You know, you see Old Green Lane out just south of Green Lane because it got severed off when Green Lane stopped being a dirt road, which was oddly enough within my lifetime. We all think that happened much more in the past. So that's how I'd solve those two orphan pieces. The Swar Swoop, it's effectively a new road. When it hits the roundabout north, that's different. Somebody mentioned the Highway 400 interchange. I actually think that's a key opportunity to have a more branded name coming into town, the entrance to town. People in the feedback were aligned, I would say, on Scotch Settlement. That is the historic sort of pioneer, one of the founding pioneer communities of town. I'm not saying I fully endorse that idea, but I like that piece. That's the only name that I think needs to be outright changed from scratch, because it isn't Line 5. It doesn't connect to the rest of Line 5 heading east, and it's sort of the opposite side of the highway from Line 5 west. So just to summarize, Side Road 10 north of the 6 line, I like the heritage name. We don't want, this isn't about changing Dundas to something else. This is about going and honoring the history of both. Line 5 east, perfect. Old 10 Side Road or 10 Side Road, fine by me. It's the Swar Swoop. I do not want to have a street in my town called the Swar Swoop. No offense, Thomas. Then just a final piece. When the Heritage Committee first talked about this, urbanization was part of it. You know, when Newmarket or other towns near us had to deal with this, Line 6, Line 8, they're not country lines anymore. They're central arteries within urban Bradford. So there is a chance and a need to look at pieces of this. Obviously, we want to keep costs limited. We don't want this to be a make-work project, and we certainly don't want to burden the residents. But that's the way I try and skin this particular cat. I think we do need a new name coming off of the 400 for that, what is effectively a new street. The rest, like I say, keep it simple, stupid. And I'm not calling anyone stupid, it's a phrase.
Oh, well said. I've got Councillor Harper next, then I'll go to Councillor Verkuyken.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, everyone. I'm not feeling great as well. I've been sick all day, but thought this was important as there was an amendment change to the actual agenda today. So I did my best to have some medicine and then get online here to make sure we're doing our bit here. You know, when I talk about the Middletown Road. And first of all, I agree with Deputy Mayor Sandu in regards to the actual process of, this exercise. I think it's been really great, especially hearing a lot of the feedback from a lot of the residents. An overwhelmingly, large amount of people. There's over 200 and plus residents or addresses here that are going to be affected. And I share the concerns with my colleagues there about the administrative costs in regards to like people changing their passports or banking information, business documents or legal corporate names and stuff like that. That is definitely going to be a burden in regards to this. I do want to highlight though that I think that the Heritage Committee, and this is a kudos to them. I think they really brought out the heritage part of the Middletown Road and the Scotch settlement to light here. And that part I do support of the honoring of that name and those names. But the full cost, until I see a full cost, it's going to be really hard to understand if this project can go forward. One thing that I want to say is this is not really a small impact. It really is a more of a quantified portion of this report. We don't really have a strategic priority or a master plan for this. So this is more like a vanity project, kind of like what my colleague was saying. It's a nice to have, not a need. But also, Councillor Scott, you made some really good points in regards to line 5 and the gaps there, that some things maybe need to happen. But before we touch a single address, we haven't even had input from the county, Innisfil, in regards to like their confirmation, the emergency services. So we'll need a lot of more clarity in regards to that before we reach final conclusion here, because right now it's really bringing a lot of confusion, which is good. And I think the people that came out and voiced their concerns and you made the comments all have valid points around the table. It's been a good discussion. So right now I'm on the fence until I see about the costs. And then again, it'll come down to need or nice to have. So thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Councillor Kike?
Yeah, we'll wait till we see the final report and have it before council. Yeah, I'm okay with keeping it side road 10 north of the traffic circle. It's probably the simplest way to do that. And I was actually a proponent of line 5 east. Now, if we do, and I agree, I think we need to rename the SWAR because it's one continuous road. And it is a gateway into our town, and it'll make it distinct from the line 5 on the other side of the 400. And but then we'll have to deal with side road 10 south of the SWAR. I would say just call it side road 10 south, and I don't think it's going to be a big deal. It just grow over time that the south will get entered, because you don't want to have the Bryan Drive syndrome that they had in Barrie, where you had Bryan Drive down coming off of Essa, Bryan Drive coming off of Mapleview, and no connection in between, and people. So people will get lost if they're. So it's better to have a slightly different name on the tail end of the side road 10, and then we'll come and we'll see the final report from staff.
Okay, thank you, everyone. And I actually want to say, Councillor Scott, you summed it up very well. It is all about marketing our community. That's what it boiled down to, and urbanization of our community. So I'll come back to you in a second. And I actually was thinking, how are we going to do this without impacting so many people? I don't want to impact a lot of people, but he's absolutely right. That 5 line is now a SWAR road. It's a new road, and we need to figure out how to deal with that. And it was about putting something on the 400 that actually marketed our employment lands. I talked briefly, it was the CEO's Enterprise Way was something that we thought about doing there, and I don't think it'll make it here, but at the same time, I like the fact, I was thinking, how do we deal with this, especially the side road 10 that's orphaned off the piece? So I like the fact side road 10, south or old, I like old, I really prefer old side road 10 because I think that's still, it indicates, our history and everything else. So we need to do something. We do need to do something. We built the Marshview, which at that time was named the Sear, which was the southeast arterial road. We named it to Marsh. Yeah, it was so that we had the southwest arterial road and we had the southeast arterial road. So, you know, we renamed that to Marshview Boulevard. It didn't really affect anybody. I think it affected one homeowner on the street. But yes, there is effects, and we have to look through this. We have to look at a costing exercise to see what the overall is. But we do have to name that new piece of road. And I don't want to touch any further. I think I think the roundabout is where to go with our new piece from the 400 to the roundabout. I think that's something that council should be looking at. So I think we've made it very easy by making line 5 east. You've got the west. You've got the old side road 10, and then you have your new section of road that we impact a few people. But I think there's a way that we can make sure that we mitigate the cost to do that. So I appreciate all the comments. It's great. We did this policy. We wanted public input, and this is what it's all about. We got great public feedback. We look forward to more. We're not making a decision tonight, but I think I hope people realize that we do have to do something here, and it is about marketing our town when it comes to our employment lands of the 400. That's a big key cornerstone to it. So we do have to do that section of the road, the Swar. We can't leave it to Swar Swoop, as Councillor Scott said. It's not something I want to call a road in our town either. So, but I think we can do this with as minimal cost as possible. It is, in my mind, that section of road is a need, and I think we can do that fairly simply with some minor budgeting cost to us. So. And I like the fact, I do like the heritage plaques. I think that's a great idea to indicate some of our heritage. So I do like some of these ideas that were brought forward by residents. Thank you so much, because we've heard some great comments from residents. They have given us some great history on Middletown, Middleton. It's always great to hear those comments from everybody. So I know Councillor Voigt wanted to speak, and then I'll go back to Councillor Harper next.
Yeah, I just forgot one other comment. The least impact of any of the street renamings would be the Swar, because there's only 14 homes, surprising on that whole thing. There's properties that don't have any buildings on them, but there's only 14 residences that would be affected. And yeah, so.
Yeah, I agree. That was the least amount of impact we would have on the whole system. So. Yeah, and there's people in favor. Yes, we do have some in favor. So, okay, I had Councillor Harper. Do you want to speak again? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I had a question actually for Mr. Reed and Mr. Dissette, if possible, Mayor. In regards to the heritage tools that we have, I know some people talked about plaques or signage in regards to that. If that is another option that could be presented further on when we have the full report, something that honors Middletown or Scotch Settlement without forcing address changes, would those be possible to be brought forward in regards to some kind of costs as well that align with as an option for council to consider as well?
Thomas?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Harper, symbolic renaming is an option. The county has presented that in the past as an option. The only cost associated would be the installation of the signage. And we can get those costs to council as part of any future recommendation report.
Okay, yeah. I thought maybe when we get the final report for this, maybe that comes with it as well, and then we don't have to ask for a separate one. I think that would be a good exercise to have a look at. Thank you.
Okay, so further comments, and we're going over here, Councillor Perugini and Councillor Giordano next.
So when Councillor Scott was making his points, I was checking out the maps, and do we know why starts at line 12 and goes to 89? It's called Middletown, but it's 10 side road the rest of the way, north and south until you hit Barrie. Do we know why on the maps it's labeled as Middletown? Or if you don't know why, can we look into that and see if maybe we can change that? Because just on the maps, it would help.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Perugini, I'm not sure why. We might have to call someone at Google to figure that out. I do know you are able, as anyone, you can request changes to things, then Google has to review it. I don't know if it's a very formal process or not. I've never tried it. But yeah, that's definitely something we can look into and see why that is the case.
Okay, Councillor Giordano.
Mayor, you brought up a good point. If we're going to change the name of Fifth Side Road, coming right or eastbound, line 5, making a right, and then if you head left, it's going to maintain or whatnot. wouldn't there be a significant cost? Like who pays for it? MTO is not going to just change the sign. Like the town's going to have to pay for that, right? That's not $5,000 for something like that, right? And then again, updating, like that's a major artery coming in off the highway. To your point, it's great for marketing, but there's a lot of updating that needs to be done. So to your point, it can be done. I know with my Chalet up north, I actually registered and changed the name of the street because it was actually marked wrong. But it's a bit of a process, but we should know what that is as well if we're going to do that, because we have to update all the I guess it's the satellite GPS kind of name promotion. Google does theirs. Waze, I think, uses their own, but I think they get some of it from Google. So at the end of the day, we're gonna have to figure that out regardless. So that should be something part of it as well. But the MTO, my question is, who pays for the MTO costs? So if we do anything off the main highway, is that a town cost? Like if we change the name and we go to the MTO and say you gotta update your signs, who pays for that?
Want to answer that?
Sure thing. Through you, Mayor Leduc, to Councillor Giordano. We can certainly consult with MTO on that. However, I think it would be unsurprising if they were to indicate that that would be the town's cost. But we can certainly reach out to them and confirm whether or not that would be the case.
Yeah, I think all that information will come in the report. Tonight is about, are we interested in looking at name changes or not? And I think the report will indicate what the total cost would be in the future. It's a good time right now because MTO is going through a highway expansion right through our community, so there will be some changes of signs and things like that moving forward. So I'm not sure if that'll be our cost or not, but I'm pretty sure MTO will have to make a new sign, and what they put on it will hopefully be at their cost. My belief, but I don't have that assurity yet until we get that report back, and we'll find out from MTO directly. So we will get all those costs because we need to know what the total cost is. But I say to you that there is a need to change the name of that road to indicate what it is from the 400 to the Line 6 roundabout. So, okay, any further comments or questions on this? Okay, seeing none then. So we're on to section 3. There's further action. So council will not make a decision on the matter tonight, but will receive staff report for information. The matter will be referred back to staff for a further recommendation report at a later date. So you still have time to comment, to give your ideas. So please send your comments in to planning at thetownofbwg.com, correct? Or
Through you, Mr. Mayor, TDYSART at townofbwg, so just myself.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we have a recommendation that report PLN 2025-56 be received, and that the comments received in writing and or made at the public consultation be received, and that the Office of Community Planning consider the matters raised and address the same in its future report. Moved by Councillor Scott, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Questions or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. So, follow-up. It is recommended that all comments or questions regarding the street naming proposal be submitted in writing to Thomas Dissette, Office of Community Planning at, and here it is, TDYSART at townofbwg.com. Written submissions are not required at a public meeting, but can be made at a later date and will be accepted up to the date that council makes a decision on the matter. Written submissions on a planning matter will not be read at the council meeting, but will be forwarded to planning staff for consideration and or response. Council will be apprised of all public comments received prior to making a decision on the application. Okay, so we're finished with the meeting. We're on to section 5. We're on to the budget. So I will put a recommendation on the floor that, we'll go to Deputy Mayor. You want to put an amendment on the floor? Okay, so
Thank you, Worship. I have a recommendation that the 2026 tax levy operating budget be amended to deduct a total of $183,378 to be derived from the review of existing operation budget allowances.
Point of order. Did we amend did we approve the amendment to allow it?
yes,
Okay.
yes, we approve the amendment to allow it. So we're on to the section 5.1, the budget. The Deputy Mayor has put an amendment on the floor to amend the 2026 tax levy operating budget to be amended to deduct $183,378 to be derived from a review of existing operational budget allowances. So He's put that amendment on the floor. Do I have a seconder for that amendment? By Councillor Scott. Questions to that amendment? Councillor Scott?
So I have one main question, but just a couple of, I guess, preambulatory comments. First of all, to Councillor Giordano's question, at the beginning of the meeting, the mayor asked us to approve the agenda as amended. I guess because the mayor can just amend the agenda, it didn't need a separate motion to amend it. But that being said, I'll start with my, like I say, preambulatory comments. I wish we had have had this not at the 11th hour, but earlier in the process as part of a rational review of the budget to try and have an efficiency or a continuous improvement target, rather than trying to reverse engineer things to hit a number. I just have to say that the base budget, the mayor's budget, had a 2% cut in order to hit the original mayor's target of 3.5% tax increase. That cut was plugged or padded over with a $2 million draw from reserves, a one-time non-recurring draw from reserves, because we don't have that reserve fund for next year. So there is a 2% gap, if you like, in the budget heading into next year that next year's budget has to try to make up. In the course of our budget deliberations, the mayor suggested a further 1% cut to the budget and then this additional 0.2%. My comments about how I wish we had have done this more rationally, notwithstanding, I want to support driving efficiencies in our budget. So that's why I seconded it. I am going to vote in favor. Had to get those comments off my chest because I think we're at a point where the 3.2% worth of cuts in the budget is almost equal to the 3.7 tax increase in the budget. And 2% of those cuts are being temporarily abated by the reserve fund draw that next year's council isn't going to be able to rely on. That off my chest, my one question. The operational review had a variety of small tweaks to the budget. The one that I'm not sure about is the $10,000 cut to parks maintenance. We've been trying to go in the opposite direction with maintaining our parks. We have more, I think 9 new parks in the past number of years. So I wonder whether the CAO or the treasurer wants to respond to that. But that's the one amount that I raised an eyebrow at and wondered if it's actually a good idea.
We'll call our treasurer up, Ian Goodfellow. If you come up and answer that question, sir. And I've got Councillor Harper next, and Councillor Giordano.
Thank you, Worship. In response to Councillor Scott, the parks maintenance budget line as a group of accounts, but it was one of the beneficiaries of the 3-year averaging exercise. So it was an area that was the budget was consistently less than what was being spent. So it was the recipient of that exercise to obtain more funding towards supporting the program in 2026. But just looking, again with the request to take another look at things to find $183,000. That was one of the items to identify that in extrapolating our 2025 results, looks like there's maybe a bit of a gap there for this year. So that's why it was put on the list as an option to consider. And going forward, your town staff, well, the budget itself is a policy document of council. Staff are bound to follow council's policies. So, and collectively, your staff have done a great job at managing their budgets in years past. So I expect they'll do everything they possibly can to meet this target as well for 2026.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you for the response. I guess my preference would be we approve everything save and except the 10,000 to the parks. I appreciated the explanation, but I still think 9 new parks, we've been trying to increase park maintenance. I don't want to go backwards. I don't know procedurally whether that's an amendment or, but I because we didn't really enumerate what the cuts are in the deputy mayor's motion, but I would like to say, looking at the clerk, I would say an amendment once everyone's had a chance to speak to exclude the cut to the parks.
Okay, thank you. I have Councillor Harper next, and then Councillor Giordano.
Thank you, Mayor. When I look at this budget and the work that we've done on it and the staff that have participated in this exercise with us, rightly so, to Councillor Scott's point, I think, we can't praise service levels one moment and then attack the cost of delivering them the next. We really, even when you talk to the residents, you can't tell the public, well, we must maintain programs and then fault council for the tax impact. That comes with the services that residents insist on. So I think this budget has been a real compromise. We've identified the real needs of the community. We're preserving the service levels residents rely on. And I think it made responsible choices in a tough fiscal year. It's not really politics. This is just straight plain governing. And I think we've done a pretty good job with that. I'm okay with the amendments today as well. It is last minute, but that is the nature of the business and the importance of why I showed up. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. I've got Councillor Giordano and then Deputy Mayor next.
Thank you. Two comments. The first one is we told the public we were going to do a 2-week recess on this. I know so many people that were planning on attending the next meeting, and now by doing this with no public notice whatsoever, there's some chatter on emails that this might happen, but we didn't make any attempts to go to the public to let them know, hey, by the way, we're going to be approving a budget and there's some additional cuts coming. So there's tons of people that probably would want to either participate, whether it's an open forum or whether it's, part of their scheduled plans for next Tuesday. That's not going to happen now. So for that reason alone, I'm not going to support anything today, because bring it next Tuesday and we can talk. It's all about transparency to the public, and I feel like we extended it, we announced it, people heard it, and then all of a sudden we're going to say, hey, psych, it's actually today. So for that reason alone, I can't support it. My other question is, and this is something that we used to deal with all the time in the corporate side, where every time people present their budgets, you're always kind of drilling down and asking, are you hedging? Is there some sandbagging in these numbers? And what's frustrating is that we're finding savings. So it's good that the staff are finding that, they're identifying and everything else, but to Councillor Scott's point, that the last minute we're seeing these things, there should have been a process to identify these earlier and discuss it about how this works. Like, I'm all about looking for efficiencies, costing out measures and whatnot when they make sense, but again, this is not the process I was expecting.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor Sandhu.
Thank you, Your Worship. I understand the comments around the table. That we said we were going to look at this on December 16th. We're doing it a week ahead. But even at our last council meeting, I said that I would be bringing an amendment, and I actually quoted the amount, 183,000, because I know that's what I was bringing back, and I wanted to discuss it with our CAO upon his return. I had a chat with our CFO. To me, this is not cuts. If we're making it sound like we're cutting the service level, it's not the cuts to anything. It's tightening of our belt and coming close to the actuals. For example, 30,000 in cost recovery for fire. The actuals for 2025 was 86,000. Our budget amount for 2026 is 30,000. We said, why don't we get closer to the actual? So we raised it by $30,000. That's not cutting service. That's tightening the belt, and I really appreciate staff stepping up and coming up with these. And there's like 10 of these, if I read these, they're not cutting anything. They're just tightening and making it more accountable and making more closer to the actuals. Parks user fees. Our actuals compared to what we're budgeting, we were budgeting low. Now we're budgeting close to the actuals. And that can go on to the many things. Facilities, we're reducing it by 10,000. We're saying, okay, our rent was in 2025, this is what the actual was. so we could afford to reduce it by 10,000 because that still leaves a room for us for a 5% tax increase to 2026. I think this year, it should be every year, but this year in particular, when we're looking at next year's budget, we're dealing with lots of financial constraints where people are feeling it. We heard from Councillor Scott many times, we hear from others, the numbers out of our food bank has grown double, I think, if not more. We see that our community fridge is getting well used. It's not because people want to do it, it's the facts on the floor that's driving them to this. And there's no certainty with what's going on around the world, and especially south of us. People are afraid of their jobs. And where we can save, I think it's our duty to save it, and this is not a service level to any cuts to the service levels, any cuts to the service levels. It's the tightening the belt. And I have to give it to our CAO, CFO, and rest of the staff for working with the residents and council and tightening their belt. If they go over $5,000 or $10,000 in parks budget, yes, so be it. But right now, that's their target. If this council agrees with it and passes it, that's their target, and let's see what they come back with. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Virginia next.
Thank you. When we were going through the whole budgeting process, I mean, it's never an easy part of that time of year. And picking out numbers to reach to keep the general public happy doesn't necessarily make sense if you're not actually providing what the public is asking for. So I was okay with supporting the using the reserve fund to help offset because of the downfall that we had from the ASC, but it turns into almost a rabbit hole which you get concerned if you're going to get out of. Took from the reserve to help offset it, to help keep the tax increase low. It was tough, but I agreed to it at the time to help make that number happen. Then this number, these further numbers come out, the extra 1%, and then now this $183,000. And to me, it just was like, well, how much are we squeezing here? How much are we literally squeezing it to the point where you're tightening your belt so tight that you've got nowhere to move whatsoever in the future. So next year you're going to be really in trouble because you don't have that reserve to fall back on now. That was my biggest concern seeing this. The CFO, I appreciate you actually breaking it down per department and you showing us where it came from and what the justification was. By seeing that, I felt a lot better about it, and it kind of makes sense to me. So I can see that because we do usually pick apart line by line and we usually are given the reasons for it, but you've broken this down for me, which does make me feel comfortable. However, Councillor Giordano's already raised the point. This was supposed to be approached next week. At an actual council meeting, we had the discussion and said we were going to put it on hold or for the amendment period for 2 weeks to come forward with something. Whether this council was going to come forward with something else, whether the public was going to come forward with something, because it was actually going to be on a regular scheduled council meeting. This is a public planning meeting. It was not meant for tonight. A lot of people won't know what's happening tonight. So that's why I didn't support the amendment at the beginning of the meeting, because I think that this should be deferred to the next meeting and we handle this conversation then.
Okay, great. So let me speak on this a little bit. This shouldn't be a surprise because the mayor said he was bringing an amendment of $183,000. He spoke about that. We spoke a week ago about extending the period. I have no problem. This is just an amendment. This is not approval of the budget. This is amendment. So you can leave. If you read through this report, it shows you that if we want to shorten the amendment period, we have to do a reconsideration motion. I have no problem leaving it to the December 16th. Please bring ideas to cut the budget. Don't bring ideas to put more money in the budget. Bring my ideas to cut the budget. I'm waiting for anybody to cut the budget more. We went through the line. I went line by line. I brought a 3.71. I said to everybody, we had everybody suffering out there. Job losses galore. We can't afford any more money. So I asked our staff, the deputy mayor asked our staff, go through the budget further. Find ways to make a cut. And we brought the cut. I sat here and I said to everybody, yeah, you want another bylaw officer. Great. I supported that. When we have one off for 8 months, we could have maybe waited for that bylaw officer to come back. I don't know. But that's what everybody wanted. I supported it. I supported the fact that we hired a facilities operator. I supported the fact that we brought some other people.
Point of order. Not everybody, you have to look at the
There's no point of
votes.
order here. I'm talking. I supported that, and I allowed the amendments to go through. And I asked everybody, I said, you have 2 weeks, come back with some cuts if you want. So the deputy mayor has put cuts on the table today, because we're at a meeting. This is a council meeting. And the cuts are on the table. All you have to do is either support the amendment or don't support the amendment. Then you don't have to shrink the amendment period. You can leave it go to December 16th. I have no problem with that. This is, if you don't want to shorten it, don't shorten it. Come back on the 16th with more cuts, though. Come back with 16th with more cuts. Find me more money to be saved here. Because I pay taxes here, like everybody else out there, and I can't afford the tax increases. And we're suffering because, yes, police have cost us. But we support the police because we need to support the police. The county has cost us. But we've made concessions to make sure that we reduce the increase of the residents out there to the best of our ability. And we've not jeopardized anything. Trust me, we've not jeopardized anything. We've done great budgeting. We worked for 2 days going through it. Extra hours. We kept our staff here till 6 at night trying to get this done. So this amendment should not surprise anybody. You're allowed to amend the budget when we're in council. It's been done tonight. So don't be all upset that this is 11th hour. It's not the 11th hour. This is a council meeting that we can do an amendment. And it was supported to do the amendment. So I ask anybody, you don't have to do the reconsideration to shorten the amendment period. We can leave it go to the 16th, and on the 16th, then it's over if there's no more amendments. And then I can drop the veto because I don't have to veto it. Okay, you want to comment, Deputy Mayor? Then you have your amendment.
Thank you, Your Worship. From hearing my colleagues, the amendments before you is just week earlier than what I intended to bring. I'm okay that we vote on the amendment. Then, like the mayor said, leave the full discussion of the budget to the 16th. When we're thinking of ways, when we discuss this, if that's the will of the council at the 16th, then at least you have numbers also that would be included in your discussion for the following week. This is just giving you a breakdown of what I said last week that I would be bringing on the 16th. It gives, if council's will is to wait till the 16th for the amendment period, or sorry, the other recommendation to about the vetoing and all that, we can go to the 16th. But this is just showing where we're saving the money, and it's not any cuts. I know we're saying it's the cuts. It's not any cuts to any service level. It's aligning your budget more with the actuals. When we did the budgets, we have the actuals up to September 30th. This is more in line to what we are. And if you notice, the numbers are different than what we were given in the budget binder, because now they have more accurate numbers. So I think we should still consider this, and then if we want to discuss it further on the 16th, so be it.
Okay. Councillor Giordano next.
Yeah, I don't know who you kind of went on the rant about, but what I was basically saying is, again, it's the hedging and the sandbagging of the numbers. That was my concern. That's a term that's used in the industry a lot. I'm not saying it took place here, but what I'm saying is that the actuals are actuals. You look at you weight your actuals out, you do your forecast properly, and then that should give you a determination based on what you put forward. My experience is that people always pump those up to make sure they have some room. It's a standard process that a lot of people do in their budget. So my question is, now that we found it, should we be finding this, or shouldn't this be part of the process moving forward? Is not to you should be forecasting a little bit better, in my opinion, to not have those gaps. Number two, again, I have no problem supporting the concept we're talking about here. My issue is that the public was told one thing, and there's a lot of people that want to be involved, and they're not here, they're not paying attention, not even watching online because it was just a planning meeting. Nothing indicated anywhere saying that it wasn't, and so that was my issue. So if we're gonna move ahead and continue the conversations for budget, I'd like to do that in council, in the scheduled council, which we announced to the public, and that's the right thing to do, in my opinion.
Okay, I'm going to ask our Director of Finance to comment.
Certainly, thank you, Your Worship. With respect to the first point raised, I can provide some additional context and hopefully comfort to council that what we benefited from in coming up with the additional items for the $183,000 was purely from the benefit of time. The Deputy Mayor briefly just touched on it there, that when the budget, the three-year averaging exercise was looking at your 2022, 23, and 24 actual results and averaging them out, and then we adjusted the 2026 budget accordingly. And really, based upon the other pressures of the budget, that's effectively was all the changes that were made to the budget estimates for 2026 from what was budgeted for 2025, was that three-year averaging exercise. When the budget document was put together, the actual results included in that document were as of September 30th, so about 9 months away through the year. Given the passage of time from preparing the budget document to now, we're now 11 months in, give or take. So that passage of time gave us greater comfort about relying on the 2025 actual results to provide some predictability to what could be achieved next year. For example, our outdoor recreation program is basically complete at this time of year. So the numbers are in the books for the outdoor recreation, parks maintenance, parks programs. They're not going to change in any sort of material way between now and the end of the year. So the passage of time benefited us in going through this exercise to find the $183,000 of changes that we're asked to do. So that's the exercise that we are able to go through at this point in time to come up with this list. So hopefully that provides some context and comfort to council that it's not a matter of budgets being padded. I assure you, and if the rest of your senior management team was sitting here tonight behind me, they'd be shaking their heads in the same way that there's really no meat on the bone anywhere. But again, the passage of time afforded us the benefit to look at our 2025 actual results, compare them to budget, and identify areas that there maybe is some money there that could be offered up to meet the savings target.
Yep.
Yeah, and I don't mean that as an insult to staff. I think I hope everyone understands what I'm saying. Is that this is a tool that's used in every single corporation across. I don't how municipalities work. I get it. But my gap is, if you're doing quarter by quarter analysis, wouldn't that help better fourth quarter forecasting versus your actuals? Because right now you're doing annual based, right? So what I'm familiar with is you do your annual base, but you do it by quarter, or even month by. I used to do month by month MORs every single time. In the last 3-year comparisons, you see your percentage. So if you're telling me all of a sudden, yeah, we found almost $200,000 of optimization in the numbers. If you're looking at those the fourth quarter analysis from previous years, wouldn't that give you a better indication of where we're going to be landing? Like what's changed so much this year versus last year that those numbers were forecasted and now they're being taken out? Like, that's what I don't understand. I could never do this in my day job. I don't understand where the money came from if you're looking at quarter by quarter forecasting. Year over year comparisons by quarter would give you a much stronger indication of what your target is. And again, it's like, it's not that it's 11th hour, but it's a week early compared to what we're expecting. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, we found this. It's okay, great. I'm happy we found it, but why did we find it in the first place? It should have been, quarter by quarter analysis year over year. And to me, that would have given you a better forecast. And I'm just maybe understanding your process. I only know my processes that I work with in the corporate world. I know municipal, Mayor always gives me hard time all the time saying this is not a corporation. Well, it's pretty similar. So that's why I just want to ask.
It's not a corporate world we live in. This is a municipal public world, and you know what? If I could budget down to where we'd have $5 surplus at the end of every year, we'd be doing a hell of a good job.
I asked about quarter over quarter, year over year comparison. That's what I asked.
We'll get to that. If we can get it down to a $5 surplus, that would be the way to budget, and that's where we're trying to do, to find efficiencies. Go ahead and answer the question if there's an answer for that.
Your Worship, I'm not sure I have a great deal I can offer up in response. Undertaking a more detailed financial analysis, that comes down to resources, and the nature of our business, there's lots of different cyclical natures to many of our departments. Our outdoor parks program, the numbers hit from April to October. So that would require one type of modeling over, over a quarterly basis or year-to-year comparisons. Then you look at our ice rental activities. Well, they start in September and they go till April or May. So there's other areas that have different cyclical natures. So it's difficult to parse the numbers out and then model on those different timelines, because they don't all follow a simple 1/12, 1/12, 1/12 throughout the course of the year. So what you've suggested, I would love to be able to do that, but really at this point in time, it's just a matter of just not having the resources to undertake that level of detailed analysis on a regular basis, that financial modeling. I just don't have the capacity to do it.
Okay, so actually we have this amendment, and I think your amendment that you want to add to the floor would have to be a separate amendment, be an added into the amendment. We'd have to support this amendment, then add another amendment. No, we can do the amendment to this amendment. Okay. Yeah.
So just before I move my amendment, a couple of quick comments. I forgot to mention that one of the main financial resources here to get the efficiency target is not an efficiency. It is a bit of a circular piece of accounting where we're taking, I think it's 150,000 thereabouts from a future year-end surplus, thereby reducing the year-end surplus to float the operating budget. And I hear the mayor say that in a perfect world we'd have just a $5 surplus. We do, I think, as a municipal services corporation, we are a corporation that provides municipal services, to clarify that point for others. But having surpluses is how we fund our reserves, is how we fund our asset renewal, is how we fund our rainy day bank account. And our reserves are not in good shape anymore. So I just put that on the floor because one of the pieces here is sort of borrowing against a future surplus, thereby meaning that future surplus is going to be less, which is circular, to say the least. And then just as a final comment, I mean, I didn't support amending the agenda to put a budget meeting at the tail end of a public planning meeting, but a majority of folks did, so we're here now. I looked through the treasurer's report. I agree with the deputy mayor. Most of these are aligning actuals to where they could be, and that results in a bit of savings. I've made my point about how I wish this had been done as part of a proper process, but we're here now, and I'm happy to support it. My amendment, save and accept the cuts to parks. We've been trying to grow our parks maintenance. It's $10,000 of the overall pot we're dealing with tonight, and I just don't want to see this go backward on parks maintenance. So I would move an amendment that basically just says save and accept the $10,000 for parks maintenance.
Okay, we have the moved. Councillor Harper, are you seconding, or you just want to comment?
No, I just want to comment.
Okay, let me see if I got a seconder for this. Put it on the floor first. Okay, seconded by Councillor Ferragini. Councillor Harper, go ahead for your comment.
With respect to Councillor Scott, I understand what you're saying. Keep the money there. I am agreeing with the deputy mayor on this report, where he says that if they do go over, just bring it to us. They try to do their best within the budget line that they have. So I just like to leave it as is. If they do come over that 10,000, I think I'd be okay with supporting, a reserve to fund that later on. But in regards to it, I think they can try and do what they can with the budget they have. I think we do have a lot more parks. They have been increased, and the funding and the work that they do is fantastic. Who knows what the year will bring next year? Less rain, less cuts. I don't know. So that could be the difference, right? So I'm okay with just leaving it as is for now.
Okay, further comments? Okay, seeing none, so we now have the amendment on the floor for the 10,000 to leave in the budget. Comment, Deputy Mayor?
So we increased the parks budget by 113,000. If we go by the original amendment, we're just saying instead of 113, it'll be $103,000. It's still a sizable amount for the parks. And then I think, I said, as Councillor Harper mentioned, that we all want the parks to be in top shape, and that we all recognize that that's the well-used in our municipality by our residents, and if it's over by 10,000, I don't think it's going to be an issue. Right now, I'm looking at every dollar. Thanks.
Yeah, Councillor Giordano.
You know, I don't get many complaints in my ward, but one of the ones I do get often is when the weeds or the grass is overgrown through the cracks in the sidewalk. You know, it's a relatively new area, but when it starts to age out, that's what starts to happen. That's where I get the complaints. However, yeah, we got to look at every dollar here, but here's something to think about too. We actually approved a capital cost for the parks for more equipment, and now we're going to cut it. So who's going to use the equipment that we've added?
Well, we didn't reduce the service level. We didn't reduce staffing. We're just taking 10,000 out of the budget. So, okay, so we have that amendment on the floor. Now we're going to save and accept that the 10,000 reduction to the, so removing the 10,000 off of the original. So that is what you're voting on, to take the 10,000 out of the 183. So all in favor of take comment? Go ahead.
How do I say this? So we're at the final buzzer here, over $10,000, and well, I guess I just wanted to say my concern over this whole budget process is the $2 million that we've taken out of reserves, and there's going to be a reckoning for the next council for the 2027 budget. But yeah, let's consider the 10,000 here.
Okay. All in favor of taking the 10,000 out of the recommendation? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that didn't carry. Back to the original amendment then. We had a mover and a second for the original amendment. So that the 2026 tax levy operating budget be amended to deduct an aggregate of $182,378 to be derived from a review of existing operational budget allowances. All in favor of the amendment? Carried. Carried. Okay, that carried. All right, Council, so I go back to, we had some discussions that we have lots of residents that want to come out and help us reduce the budget. So we can do a reconsideration motion to reduce the amendment period, or we can leave the amendment period to the 16th for further reductions to come. Okay, so we don't want to do a recommendation. Thank you. We won't do that. We are now done, Council. So I will confirm proceedings that the recommendation of the bylaw 2025-124 bylaw confirm proceedings of the council meeting dated December 9, 2025 be enacted. Moved by Councilor Giordano, seconded by Councilor Ferragini. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And adjournment. Recommendation that the meeting is hereby adjourned at 8:28. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councilor Harper. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.